Tracy passed her Praxis Elementary Social Studies exam using a 240 study guide. She went from missing the mark on her first try to passing by over 20 points. After I saw Tracy's review, I knew I had to make a video for the Praxis Elementary Social Studies exam to help other people just like her pass their test too. My name is Emma, and I taught in elementary classrooms for many years. Now I work with 240 to help teachers pass their certification exams. And today, I'm going to help you. This video is going to prepare you for the Social Studies portion of the Praxis Elementary Education Multiple Subjects exam. And this video is going to cover 3 things: what's on the test and how to study for it, the most important concepts to master, and we're going to look at a few practice questions. The Praxis Elementary Education Multiple Subjects exam is split into 4 subtests: Reading and Language Arts, Mathematics, Social Studies, and Science. Each contains a different amount of selected response questions. But for now, we're going to focus on Social Studies, which has 60 questions in all. You ready to knock this test out of the park? Batter up! Now, the Praxis Elementary Education Social Studies subtest consists of 3 categories that actually put multiple categories together, but you'll see what I mean. The categories are United States History, Government, and Citizenship, Geography, Anthropology, and Sociology, and World History and Economics. Each category has test specifications listed under it to give you a better idea of what to study. Thankfully, we've done the research for you, and you can find exactly what you need to know in the full 240 study guide. But let's go ahead and talk about some key concepts now. The first competency we'll look at is Category 1, since it's worth the largest chunk of your exam at 45%. This means approximately 27 of the 60 total questions will come from this category. I know we're not talking about math in this video, but that's almost half. We'll discuss a key concept of the Civil War, and then one of government and citizenship. There are 5 test specifications that cover U.S. history. Not too bad, right? Let's take a closer look. Knows the major events and developments in United States history from founding to present. That's over 200 years worth of events and developments. And this is a little helpful, but I'm pretty sure more than these 3 things have happened in the U.S. since 1776. Now, you could go dust off your old U.S. history textbook, or you could subscribe to the 240 study guide, where we've done the hard work for you. You can study with flashcards, practice quizzes, and videos, like this one we'll take a look at about the Civil War, an event that is highly likely to appear on your exam.
South Carolina chose to secede from the Union anyway, starting the Civil War. Mississippi seceded shortly after, followed by Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Texas. Delegates from the seceded states elected Jefferson Davis of Mississippi as the President of the Confederate States of America. The northern states had clear advantages in a more industrialized economy and a larger population from which to recruit a greater number of military personnel. The North also had a stronger navy and could sustain trade during the war while blockading Confederate ports. The advantage of the Confederate Army was its superior military leadership from Robert E. Lee. At the beginning of the war, the Army also had the support of Great Britain, who relied on Southern cotton to feed its massive textile industry. The South had men who had grown up shooting and hunting and were familiar with the land on which they fought. In addition, the Confederate men tended to fight harder since they were on their own homeland.
And there's much more to this lesson. We all know how the war turned out, but to drill into the details, subscribe to a 240 study guide. Okay, let's move on to something important to know from the government and citizenship portion of this category. Federalism is a system of shared power between the national government and the states. There are differences in the powers of the national and state governments, but some powers do overlap. And you gotta know which is which, along with the effects of the system. All right, let's get into our next category. Category 2 is worth 30% of your exam. This means that there are around 18 questions that cover geography, anthropology, and sociology. Let's stick to our pattern and highlight a key concept from the geography portion, and then one on anthropology and sociology. For the geography questions that you'll see, it's important to know where major land and water areas are located, not just so you can pick out where to go on your next beach vacation. But it's also important to understand how the environment affects humans, and the other way around too. In simple terms, humans respond to their environments. They might even move because of it. Fun fact, before 1900, every city founded was located near some sort of water source, sometimes oceans, sometimes rivers. When asked about human settlement, water is often a key factor. Well, why water? For starters, humans need fresh water to drink. Also, water was the easiest and most efficient form of transportation. You gotta be able to move goods in and out of the city. And water is just one example of how humans adapted their behavior to respond to their environment. If you want to see more, check out our study guide. Let's move on to another key concept from this category, cultural diffusion. We'll start by focusing on culture. Geographers describe places not only by their physical characteristics, but also by their people and cultures. Culture is composed of cultural traits, which are individual aspects of human activity that shape the social life of a place. These traits include daily routines and practices, food, language, art, and religion. Culture continually changes as societies encounter new challenges and influences, both external and internal. Okay, here's that term we've been waiting for. Cultural diffusion is the process by which cultural traits spread from one group to another. For example, baseball is considered an American sport, but is played in Canada, and hockey is considered a Canadian sport, but is played in America. The culture of the two sports diffused across the shared border. All right, one category to go. The World History and Economics category is worth the smallest portion at 25%. But that still means around 15 questions will come from this category, so you'll want to be prepped for this one too. Lucky for you, that's just what I'm here to do. A lot can come up about world history, including information on the classical civilizations like Egypt, Greece, and Rome. Now, I'm about to go over some essential things you should know about ancient Rome. But to really get the confidence you deserve to pass the test, you need to get the 240 study guide. Our 240 study guides have hundreds of questions, in-depth videos, and test-aligned study materials, so you can get the depth you need to pass. But let's get back to ancient Rome. The Roman Empire began to form in late 200 BCE. The Roman Empire began as a republic, also known as a representative government, and rose to a dominant empire in 2 centuries. The Romans were heavily influenced by their Greek neighbors in the fields of philosophy, science, and religion. Rome was both militarily and economically strong due to its geography. The Alps provided winter protection, deterring invaders from Europe. The Apennine Mountains provided not only protection, but also natural resources. The Po and Tiber river valleys produced extremely fertile soil. This allowed Romans to grow many different crops and to have a surplus of crops to trade with other societies. The location on the Mediterranean Sea allowed easy access to trade. The wealth gained from trade allowed the Romans to expand their military strength. Well, I can't think of a great segue from ancient Rome to scarcity and opportunity cost, but world history and economics are together in one category, so here you go. One of the most important economic concepts to understand for your exam is scarcity and opportunity cost. No one can have everything they want. The gap between resources available and what you'd want is called scarcity. Since people have to make choices, opportunity cost comes into play. This is the cost of the next best opportunity a person gives up when they make a choice. Although we most naturally associate economics with money, time is actually the most important resource to consider when thinking about opportunity cost. For example, when choosing to study for a certification exam instead of taking a nap, the opportunity cost is missing out on rest. But I definitely think you should do both. Your brain needs time to process all the important information you're working through. And again, to make sure you're working with the best, most test-aligned material out there, subscribe to a 240 study guide. Now that we've gone over some of the big concepts from our 3 categories, let's look at some practice questions to show you how those concepts can appear on the test. If you want a lot of practice questions, you can click the free practice test link below. At the end, you get a score report on how well you did on the test, so you'll know where to train your focus as you study. Let's look at a question about American history. We discussed the Civil War earlier, but let's go back in time even further, to the colonial period. The American colonies eventually settled into distinct groups based on geography and economic pressures. Which group of colonies became known as the breadbasket for their high production of wheat? The correct answer is the middle colonies, because they had fertile soil for farming, and were nicknamed the breadbasket because of the large amounts of grain they produced. However, if you thought the answer was the New England colonies, the quiz feedback within our study guide would let you know why that answer is incorrect and what those colonies were known for. Cool, right? It's a great interactive way to study. Okay, let's take a look at a government question. Which of the following U.S. documents states that the purpose of government includes the establishing of justice and securing the blessings of liberty? Look, we have a big clue in our question prompt. We know we're looking for a US document, which means we can eliminate the Magna Carta, which was written in England. The rest of our choices are US documents that are important to know, but the Constitution is what we're looking for here. Let's see a question from Category 2, shall we? Which of the following factors is most likely to encourage initial human settlement in an area? Out of our choices, abundant natural resources is best. Like I told you, water is important. All right, let's see a question on world history. We touched on ancient Rome before, but how about ancient Egypt? Which of the following contributed to the Egyptian civilization's comparative success during the Bronze Age? Select all that apply. Our two correct choices here are B and C. The natural fortification of Egypt, due to being surrounded by deserts and the Mediterranean Sea, allowed Egypt to focus on technological advancements instead of military strategy. Also, the Nile River helped with farming and therefore food supply. There's that water talk again. Let's finish up with a question about economics. Which of the following identifies the situation faced by two consumers, both of whom want to purchase a single available copy of a novel at their local bookstore? Surplus, embargo, market equilibrium, or scarcity? Our correct answer is the term we discussed earlier, scarcity. This is an example of a resource, in this case the novel, being limited. Now that's just a small sliver of practice questions to give you an idea about how these concepts are assessed on the test. Congratulations on finishing the video! If you found it helpful, give it a like. There's still so much more to learn. Did you know that 240 has helped thousands of teachers pass their Praxis exams? If you really want to make sure you're prepared for the social studies portion of the Praxis Elementary Education Multiple Subjects exam, take the next step and subscribe to the 240 Study Guide. It has hours of videos so you can watch or listen as you please. It's test aligned so you know precisely what you need to study. And it has hundreds of practice questions so you can be sure you're ready. And it has the money back guarantee. So click the link below right now to get started.